In this training module, we will discuss the Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan for the WestRock Hopewell Mill. Stay tuned for a short quiz after. Stormwater is simply any rain, sleet, or snow that does not soak into the ground and runs off into a ditch, storm drain, or surface water. When it rains, water will either soak into the ground or it will hit a hard or impervious surface, and it will run off to somewhere else. When this water falls on a driveway or parking lot, it may carry oil, fuel, heavy metals, or sediment with it. When water runs off grass or dirt roads, it may have debris or sediment in it. All of these pollutants that are carried by the water as it runs off will eventually make their way into Gravelly Run or the James River. The Hopewell Mill has a stormwater pollution prevention plan, which is required by our VP DES permit. This plan helps to prevent stormwater pollution. The plan describes all of the mill's activities to prevent stormwater contamination and control. Every mill employee has a part in making sure we minimize stormwater pollution that flows to the river. This training will give you the information you need to understand where stormwater outfalls are at the mill, material management to minimize exposure, good housekeeping, allowable and non-allowable discharges, and the spill response procedure. As you see on our site map, the area colored in peach and the large area in purple will drain to the wastewater treatment plant. It is important to understand which areas will drain to the process sewer versus which ones will drain to the stormwater. Typically, floor drains inside buildings, process wastewater, and sanitary waste all flow to the wastewater plant. Not all of the drains in the mill flow to the wastewater plant. As you walk through the mill, you may notice that some of the drains are painted blue. This is to indicate that the drain goes to a stormwater outfall. Please check with your supervisor to make sure that if you are washing down or performing any activities in the area, that it will drain to process, not to stormwater. When in doubt, assume that a drain is a stormwater drain. One of the two largest stormwater drainage areas flows to Outfall 3. Any activity in the area circled in red will end up in this stormwater outfall. Areas draining to Outfall 3 include the truck shop and the adjacent storage areas, the truck staging area, and part of the lay-down area near the ash pond. One of the major activities in the drainage area of Outfall 3 is vehicle maintenance at the truck shop. Maintenance work on vehicles in this area should be performed inside or in a controlled area to prevent contaminants from getting into the runoff. It is also important to understand why you are not allowed to wash vehicles in this area since it drains to a stormwater outfall. Our permit does not allow the washing of vehicles using detergents or other materials in a stormwater drainage area. If a vehicle needs to be washed, locate an area that drains to the process sewer to conduct the washing. Maintenance performed outside should have absorbent towels placed down to prevent oil from getting into the concrete. It is imperative that cleanup is performed after maintenance to minimize pollution in the runoff. Flow to Outfall 4 is from the largest stormwater drainage area at the mill. As soon as you enter the mill on Industrial Street, you are in this drainage area. From the parking lot to the paper mill shipping and DLK areas to the mill office and HCRP and the area around the lift station and bunker all drain to Outfall 4. It is important to note that there is a stormwater catch basin near the dry ash silo. As you can see in the picture to the right, it is painted in blue. No processed material is to enter this drain. The drain to the left, which is painted in black, goes to the processed sewer. In the event of a spill from a truck or other operations, there is a spill kit located with a drain cover which will help seal the stormwater drain to prevent material from flowing in. For those of you who work in the paper mill, it is important to understand where the border is between process and stormwater. Do not wash up material past the blue line you see in the back of this picture in the roadway, because this is where the stormwater drainage begins. Any wash up must stay within the alleyway between recycle and the HD tanks. The small area that you see in blue drained to Outfall 5. This area includes the east end of the storeroom to the area from the pulp mill maintenance shop to the riverbank. The main pollutants that could potentially enter the drain are spills from the nearby maintenance shop as well as chip dust. The area that you see circled in blue drains to Outfall 6. This area includes the roadway from security, the main office, and the area beside first aid. Outfall 8 collects drainage from the area circled in red, which is in a high-traffic area of the scale house near the woodyard. Outfall 9 collects drainage from a small area near the chipyard, shown here circled in red. And Outfall 10 collects drainage from a small area from the north end of the paper mill to the storeroom. If you work in the pump shop and storeroom, what you do impacts the stormwater runoff in this area. All empty totes stored in this area should be rinsed beforehand with the valve closed and the lid on. No oily materials should be stored outside in this area, including parts that may contain oil. This list describes some materials that we have on site that contribute to stormwater pollution. It is important that we manage these materials to minimize tracking, leakage, or blowing of materials. Best management practices and good housekeeping are ways to help manage exposure of these pollutants. This includes raw materials such as caustic and white liquor, fuels such as oil and gasoline, intermediate materials like black and green liquor and pulp, and finished and recycled waste such as raw stock, turpentine, and ash. Some examples of industrial activities at our mill are storage of DLK barrels, loading and unloading operations, fuel tank transfers, machinery operations, and vehicle maintenance activities. Managing the paper clippings in the DLK storage area prevents them from entering the storm drain. Oil and grease are pollutants that can enter stormwater runoff. It is imperative that any oil-containing devices or equipment are stored under cover or inside a containment. Buckets must have lids on them, and any oil spill should be cleaned up immediately. At the mill, we have best management practices, which are work practices that are done every day to protect stormwater. For example, materials used in an area that drains to a stormwater ditch must be in a secondary containment, proper unloading protocol for filling tanks must be followed, and containers must be closed when not in use. Use designated storage facilities, practice good housekeeping, move leaking vehicles indoors, and use drip pans when indicated. Inspections are conducted on our BMPs to ensure that they are working. For example, if you are using silt fencing, we need to make sure it is working as designed. If it is not, corrective action must be taken to repair within 30 days of discovery. It is illegal for anything but stormwater to go down a storm drain or into a body of water. There are a few exceptions to this rule, but remember, only rain down the drain. As stated in our permit, the listed non-stormwater discharges are authorized. This includes discharges from firefighting activities, portable water, irrigation drainage, and uncontaminated groundwater or spring water. Examples of unauthorized discharges are listed here. This includes material spills or leaks from containers, pipes, or vehicles, vehicle leaks, solids such as boiler ash, lime, or grits, and excessive erosion. Note this is not a comprehensive list. If in doubt, contact a supervisor. If an unauthorized discharge occurs, contact your supervisor as soon as possible. The environmental manager or environmental engineer must be notified so that the regulatory agencies can be informed about any unauthorized discharges. So what should you do in the event of a spill? First, you should stop the source of the spill if you can do so safely. Second, stop the flow by putting down absorbents and burn the area to prevent the spill from moving. And most importantly, report the spill to your supervisor as soon as possible. We hope this has provided you with what you need to help with minimizing stormwater pollution. It is up to us to do our part in keeping the areas that drain to the stormwater clean and to follow our plan. Thank you for completing this training. Now you will be directed to 7 questions to help test your understanding of the stormwater pollution prevention requirements.